In the ancient city of Jericho, a formidable challenge lay ahead for the young Joshua. Commanded by the Lord to organize a great assembly to destroy the city using sound alone. Yet amidst the colossal walls of Jericho, the Israelites, led by 7 priests holding 7 sacred ram trumpets, stood firmly in place, and by the order of God, with hearts pounding and hands trembling, their horns pierced the air at once, and emboldened by the Ark of the Covenant, the Israelites raised a mighty shout. And by this divine sound alone, the great walls of Jericho came crashing down at the feet of Joshua, like a rumble in the earth. This ancient religious story and many others like it all point to a divine and transformative nature of sound. How is it that all these unrelated traditions and cultures harmoniously elevate sound to cosmic significance and are able to enlighten us to practices that have measured transformative physical, mental, and spiritual abilities? There is some convincing evidence to believe that these possibilities may have already been realized in the distant past of human history. From the ancient Egyptians to the Maya to the ancient Greek theater and possibly even Stonehenge, many large-scale structures studied through acoustic archaeology have been found to have unique ways to selectively manipulate and amplify certain frequencies of sound. And according to certain texts, artworks, and stories, these structures and civilizations could do much more with sound. Fast forward to 1866, and one of the first modern-day extraordinary discoveries on sound was made through something called Kunst's tube. I really hope I'm saying that right, YouTube, don't ban me. This experiment by August Kundt used a transparent tube with an adjustable piston to reflect sound on one end and a resonator which played frequency of sound at the other end. The tube was filled with a powder which, like we saw from the levitator, would collect into the nodal points of the waves. This experiment is mainly used to visually demonstrate longitudinal and standing waves and for measuring the speed of sound, but it also uncovered one of the secret possibilities of the air we breathe. Kunst's tube gave an apparatus that allowed small objects to be held in the nodal points of the standing wave it created. This same principle was applied in 1970 in the Langevin horn, except instead of resonators, something called piezoelectric transducers were put to work. These are actually the same things which are used in the levitator which I showed on this video, but I didn't want to scare people off with the big words too early. A piezoelectric transducer is something that converts electrical energy into another form by using crystals as a means of mechanical conversion. In this case, electrical energy is being converted into sound energy. And interestingly enough, almost all of the time when sound is made, it comes from a previous energy form, whether it be potential, kinetic, or chemical in the case of my voice as I'm speaking. But even though sound dissipates as it travels over time, there are actually ways to reverse this process and actually use sound as an energy force. Sort of like backwards speakers, vibrations in an object can be applied to a transducer which can generate a usable electrical current. We may not have yet unlocked the deepest secrets and applications of sound, but nonetheless, a great deal of technological progress is being made today on this frontier. For starters, holograms are getting closer to reality than you probably thought was possible. By using acoustic levitation technology, a 2mm bead can be sent moving through space in such a rapid speed that it appears to create a 3-dimensional image by shining colored lights in certain areas to reflect the monetary position of the bead as it zips around. But these holograms not only look 3-dimensional, they deliver haptic feedback in such a way that you can actually feel their shape. And by vibrating the same bead, it can produce a sound in such a way that these holograms can actually talk. And even greater than that, sound may actually be able to cure cancer. You heard me right. Scientists at the University of Michigan have shown that specific ultrasonic frequencies can be used to target tumors in rats and deplete the mass of a tumor by 50 to 75%. By destroying cancer cells with millimeter accuracy with little to no side effects, this treatment called histotripsy is being investigated for its use in neurological and cardiovascular diseases as well. A new product called the Sound Beamer has recently been developed and can actually deliver sound from a sort of speaker directly into your ears like a headphone, but without wearing any electronic device. The beamer can actually track your position around the room and shoot ultrasonic waves directly at your head in such a way that it feels like the sound is everywhere around you while others nearby will hear nothing. The long list of new sound technologies in development today range from sound force field windshields to military-grade bomb detectors. Sound plays such an integral role in our everyday lives that we largely take it for granted. Matter of fact, imagine what a caveman thought about sound. He probably only understood that sound has something to do with our ears. Beyond that, no real pattern is discernible for which objects make what types of sound and which don't, unless you start thinking in terms of vibration and energy. By thinking in this way, we may be able to peel back one more mysterious layer of this grand cosmos we live in. The ancients had advanced knowledge, strong motivation, and sophisticated technological capabilities. Now let's get into what sound can really do. In Eastern tradition, specifically Hinduism, certain mantras or repeated phrases have been studied and shown to have profound physiological and mental effects on the well-being of an individual. Sounds like the Om, for example, are mythologically significant and often attributed to the creation of the cosmos itself. And profoundly enough, the Amen sound in Christian tradition is remarkably similar. In the Vitala temple, we see unique acoustic properties made by tapping specific musical pillars. Alongside what look like modern-day three-dimensional cymatic patterns, we can tell the builders had an advanced knowledge of sound and its ability to manipulate matter. Fast forward to the modern day Western world, and we are slowly rediscovering the geometric and physical transformations that can occur purely as a result of vibration. Hans Jenny was a mid-20th century Swiss physician and natural scientist who coined the term cymatics. Cymatics is essentially the study of how sound vibration transforms and shapes matter. This works through vibrating a plate or some surface at a specific frequency and seeing the patterns formed by matter on this surface. The frequency then determines the distance between the areas of compression and rarefaction, and as with any sound wave, higher frequency means a smaller wavelength or gap between these areas. This interaction between high vibrational areas and low vibrational areas form a modal vibrational pattern. All physical objects have normal modes or vibrational patterns which are dependent on their structure, material, and shape. In the case of cymatics, this sinusoidal modal pattern, meaning sine wave with frequency, interacts with the applied frequency to allow for many different geometric shapes to form when sand or a fluid-like material is scattered on the surface. Just look at even three-dimensional structures emerging from the surface and seemingly transcending traditional Newtonian physics by only the power of vibration. A higher vibration can be used to form increasingly intricate and complex geometric shapes, and even dynamic moving forms that can almost resemble natural biological forms. What is being displayed here is the way that sound and vibration interact with matter is much different than how matter interacts with other matter. Obviously, these vibrations take place in matter, but the vibration or wave itself, as we know, is made of energy, not matter. And through this specific frequency energy, we see complex, naturally forming geometrical structures. Consider this alongside the fact that every molecule and every atom in the universe has a specific resonant frequency. These resonant frequencies are determined by the unique structure and cyclical pattern of the atoms. Could it be possible that the ancients, through sound and harmonics, were able to access the resonance of materials and levitate them by some mechanism yet unknown to us? Is this why they made an intention of cutting and transporting sometimes hundreds of miles specific granite or limestone blocks that they knew they were able to manipulate? I mean, we know that levitation by sound is possible. I proved that in the very outset of this video. The science of these levitators is pretty simple, really. High frequency sound waves create a standing wave which contains areas of compression and rarefaction. These areas of rarefaction allow small objects to be held in place by the pressure of the compressed air which surrounds it. So really, it is the air fundamentally that is supporting the weight of the object, but the energy to support it comes from the sound. Hypothetically, if one were able to compress enough air by very loud and concentrated sound, like that witnessed by Dr. Yarl, it could maybe be possible to support objects of a much larger mass. This video series rather serves to suggest that more of our universe is substantiated by vibration and resonance than we often acknowledge. And it seems the more we uncover about physics and the underlying workings of the universe, the more this non-particular and vibrational perspective seems almost all-encompassing. So the ancient levitation hypothesis is, after all, a historical narrative based on this perspective. But in acknowledging it as a narrative, we must also acknowledge the more mainstream Western narratives by which we examine and make conclusions about ancient civilizations, their technology, beliefs, and motivations. In all honesty, I hope it's true that this great power does actually exist and may point to a more grand and unified understanding of the cosmos and humanity's place in it, but I really don't know if it's true or not. The best we can do is take the knowledge and understanding that we have and try to expand on it and fill in the rest of the picture. All theories and narratives aside, here are some concrete things that you can take from this video. Number 1. Ancient civilizations valued a divine connection to sound and vibration and believed that it had transformative or cosmic capabilities. Number 2. There is a lot we simply do not know or understand about not only ancient history, but the actual way the universe works. Number 3. Acoustic levitation and vibrational capabilities should be explored as a very enlightening scientific and technological frontier with potentially huge paradigm-shifting discoveries waiting to be found. Number 4. There are many pieces of evidence and stories that point to advanced technology or something that defies our current understanding of ancient humans. All this taken together, we can see that there is much of the cosmos waiting to be discovered, or more accurately, rediscovered. Something profound, exciting, uplifting, possibly even a great source of human meaning. We should not reject ancient stories or assert the superiority of our cosmological worldview. Instead, we should take as much as we can and learn from the people who suddenly woke up to their place in the cosmos and discovered and knew so much just by witnessing and growing with the natural world. The ones who wrestled constantly with life and death, face to face with the ground of being while dreaming up at the stars. Not distracted from themselves, but rather in touch, simply with being uniquely and suddenly human. This human connection with sound and vibration runs deep, deep down to the soul.
Yeah.